I know it's not going to be completely remembered, what with uh doing this and not how I did it originally before. Early morning live streams. Who remembers that? Okay, sorry, something went wrong on my side here. It's good now. But yeah, early morning live streams. Who remembers that? I did that a good while ago. Obviously, this is an early morning live stream. The thumbnail's a little misleading, but I kind of miss it. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of miss it. Just waking up early morning with a nice cup of tea, not really having any plan or goal, just hanging out with chat and just talking about whatever comes to mind. I don't know how properly dimly lit I made everything. Um, I couldn't make it too dark, otherwise my camera would freak out at me like what it's doing right now. Ah, the good old days. 2 years ago. Yeah, if it wasn't obvious, this stream is basically going to be taking a page from the early morning live stream book and just going to be whatever I want to talk about. I thought I needed to do something for the holiday season, and I couldn't get the video out that I wanted to get out for this holiday season, so that's going to be next time. By next time, I mean it's just going to be part of my regular uploads, I guess. Um, but yeah. Eventually, I promise one day we will, but unfortunately, not today. Man, even just that brings me back. You saying that. I would do more early morning live streams. I say that is if I can't, I can. I have the power. It's just whether or not I want to do them. My nostalgia says yes. My nostalgia from 2 years ago. My I'm scared to go down this rabbit hole by saying either yes or no because the name looks familiar, but I don't 100% know. Is lower than recommended. Is it? Testing, testing. All right. There is something that comes to mind that I could talk about. I just don't think my audience plays or cares about the Riot Sphere, so I don't know if it'll land. It's a webcomic made by an individual, Tristan Whitson Chandler. Ah, then no, I have not heard about it. This is the first time I'm hearing about it then. Let me adjust audio here. I think the background music's getting a little ahead of itself. So I guess I'll talk about it. It's the only thing that comes to mind, and that's just what these early morning, not actually early morning live streams is all about. So I mentioned Riot, League of Legends, Arcane. I guess I really more want to talk about Arcane though. So, so Arcane season 2 was announced, which I'm excited for. Uh, if you never played League, the champions they give you a few tabs in the overview. No, give me a second. I wake up. Your Honor, League of Legends. Raid Genshin Legends. Yes. So, um, I lost my train of thought. I remember. So, obviously, Arcane takes the story of Vi, of Jinx, of all these remembered famous champions of League of Legends. Vi, Jinx, Heimerdinger, Jace, Echo. There we go. That's the other one. And you learn something new, and Caitlyn, and you learn something new every day because after rewatching it not too long ago, I realized, oh wow, yeah, Victor, he's in this too, and Singed. They never mentioned his name in Arcane, but in the subtitles, he's there. They're Singed. So I was like, wow, okay, I didn't realize so many more characters was in this. And it gets me excited for season two because I think after season one dropped, they had released Renata Glask, a new champion, and then sometime after that, Ari, no, not Ari, Ari, what's her name? I don't know. They released another character. Um, so they released two new characters, Renata and that other character. Um, who just so happened to both live in the lanes, be a part of that great nation of Zon. Coincidence for a season two characters, maybe. Um, it makes me excited for who we're going to see. It feels, I don't know, based on the timing of the release of Renata Glask and the other new champion, well, new to when season one was released. Um, it seems kind of obvious that they're gonna put them in there. I will be shocked if they do not put them in season two. Um, it makes me excited for what other possible characters they will put in. They reference Noxus, which gets me excited to see my main man Jericho Swain. I highly doubt we will, because they're focused. Excuse me. They're calm down, camera. Calm down. I know I sneezed. It's okay. It's okay. Um, they reference Noxus, to which of Swain is the leader of. Um, I highly doubt they're gonna see him because we're focusing highly on Piltover Zon, but it's possible there is an older character that very well could be um in season two, which I'm hoping to see. Urgot is connected by both Noxus and Piltover, which makes me excited again for like maybe we can see Swain or maybe Darius or Elise, some of the other Noxus related characters. It's like the 90s Mario movie where you cram as many recognizable characters and names as possible, basically. Pretty much. But it is a good story, I will say. Not to say that the 90s movie wasn't bad. No, it was bad. It's bad. It's kind of bad. Um, because yeah, they do cram a lot of. I mean, to be fair, with League, with Riot, they have a lot of characters to pull from regardless. So it's very easy to use recognizable characters of their roster when they were crafting stories of. I mean, plus it's focusing on characters, these specific characters' lore. It makes me interested. It makes me curious of like, what if they made other shows of like different characters of different perspectives. Like if they're going to choose to heavily focus on Piltover over Zon, they only show all the related characters. So they go with again characters like Renata Glask and the other one, and they don't show anyone from Noxus besides Mel's mother. If they're choosing to heavily focus on just these specific characters, what would that? I'm curious if they do make another show, would they do it from a different perspective? Would they do Noxus this time? Since Noxus was, I actually prefer the '93 Mario movie over the new one. That's fair. Um, the I'm I really want I really want there to be a show. This is just me more fanboying over some of my favorite skins in League. My favorite skins are the Crime City skins, but my favorite amongst that genre is the Crime City Nightmare skins, to which there's very little of. Um, makes me, because even the skins have lore, which that's a whole other rabbit hole to go down for Arcane. So they do have skins that relate to characters in Arcane. So there are Battlecast skins. From my understanding, Vector is the creator of the Battlecasts, or I don't own all of them, so I don't see all the descriptions. But from my limited knowledge of the Battlecast skins, Victor created Kog'Maw, Vel'Koz, specifically creatures that went extinct, and he just recreated them in a mechanical form. Um, and then there's the Hextech. Obviously, Hextech was a big thing of Arcane. There are some Hextech skins. You have Hextech Kog'Maw, again with Kog'Maw, and then you have actually Hextech Swain. I highly doubt they're gonna make a Hextech Swain for Arcane. But again, that just makes me excited. I highly doubt they will put any of those references to the skins in there, but I kind of hope they do. I mean, I don't know, it's just getting me excited for season two. The trailer that they had released. I forgot when they said it was going to be announced. What did I say? That wasn't the words I had wanted to come out. Let's see. So I know I played League once on my second channel. For those of you who didn't see that, I played a couple of rounds of League. I wouldn't mind playing more for the channel. But like I said earlier, I don't think my audience cares too much about the Riot sphere. I mean, I guess that's just my whole thing. Despite wanting to go into YouTube as a full-time career, um, there's a lot of things I could do that would make it easy as far as getting views, getting the most out of making money. But that's not who I am. Not when I play video games, and especially not when I do YouTube. I just like doing things that I like, and most of what I like is unfamous opinions. So I am known for unpopular gaming opinions, to which I believe I have a clip of that from one of my live streams on my second channel, I think just titled I Have Unpopular Opinions. It's man, my throat. But yeah, I didn't. Anyways, Arcane, excited for it. And they've announced their new character for League as well, the new champion, which of course is already going to be broken. 3 a.m. videos. Let's see. I could keep going talking about Riot, but again, I don't know if you guys really care about that. I can't think of anything else to talk about. Low-key. Nothing exciting has been going on in my life that I could talk about. I think a post I made yesterday pretty much sort of confirms it. What did I even say? Oh my. Like being the guy who stays in the corner doing nothing while friends are talking together away from me. Call it introverted or something else. Whatever the case. I have a spectator's life of joy with all the dreams and love at no waypoint alone and peace. Anyways, the point is I'm odd. That's fair description. Fair description of me. I mean, that's just growing up. Sorry, I had something in my head and then it didn't correlate to anything that I said out loud. So, in just hanging out with friends, it's, recognizing some differences in taste and everything, because as getting older, tastes change, opinions change. And so friends I um, have a lot less in common with nowadays than what we used to as kids, which is sad. But that doesn't make us any less friends. That was a really weird sidetrack to go off of. Thoughts on Scarlet and Violet DLC? I did not play the DLC. Again, I told you guys, my life is boring. I don't do anything. I think the most video game thing I've done recently is playing League of Legends. I guess the only other thing, which I want to get back to, which was playing Fire Emblem. I think I've already talked about this. I wanted to play every single Fire Emblem game. And I made a list, if I can find it, of all the games that I have played and the games that I've started and need to continue playing. It's not a complete list of every single Fire Emblem game. It's just the ones that I've played. What is wrong with you, OBS? You're going crazy on me. Calm down. Calm down. Okay. Alright, so far the Fire Emblem games I've played: Three Houses, Fate, both Conquest, Birthright, and the third special edition. Paths of Radiance, Engage, and Awakening. The two games that I've started and need to get back to playing is Radiant Dawn and Echoes. Echoes was the latest game that I was playing. Yeah, but I love Fire Emblem. It's a franchise that I wasn't expecting to get into, but I just really got into. Sorry, I thought I saw something. There's a fly in here or something. How many times can I say something like and what in this? Fire Emblem is a popular Smash Bros. Game from what I know. Yeah, that's my feeling of games like Earthbound. No, I think Earthbound is the only one. I think I talked about in that Earthbound video I did, part 1, playing Earthbound. And it was like, yeah, the only games I ever know some of these characters are from is from Smash Bros. And up until that point, yeah, Fire Emblem was basically the exact same thing. I actually got to play Smash Bros. Recently with one of my friends who wanted to get some Smash Bros. Footage, and that was fun. It's been a while since I played Smash Bros., so that was a nice change of pace from all the League that I've been playing. Yeah, I wanted to play through all the Fire Emblem games because I wanted to make a tier list of my favorite Fire Emblem games. I guess I could sort of make one. I mean, not to spoil anything, but I could probably make one with the ones that I played through now. Things are about to get laggy, boys. Hold on tight. Hold on tight. Don't worry, the lagging will stop eventually. Don't worry. Okay. Okay, Three Houses, Fate, Radiance, Engage, Awakening. Okay. I'll probably do a cliff notes of the whole thing because I still want to, in the future, maybe make a video about all the games that I played and actually having the tier list, which will most likely go up on my second channel. Maybe I haven't gone through every single route of every Fire Emblem, whatever. So there's some things that I'm going to miss while through my journey of playing Fire Emblem. Um, yeah, I'll go through them. So far, I will say, obviously, not every game is for everyone. Fire Emblem was barely even for me. So the first Fire Emblem game that I've played through emulation was Paths of Radiance a few years ago, before I really got into Fire Emblem. I hated it. I hated it. It was not. I hated it. I just had a rough time the whole time. If it felt, I'll get into that, but I did not like it. A few years, or not a few years, 1 year later, my friend was playing Three Houses, and it looked interesting. So I said, you know what, I'll give this Fire Emblem thing another shot. I fell in love with Three Houses. It's still one of my favorite Fire Emblem games, and Three Houses is what got me into the franchise. I would say, depending on what Fire Emblem game you start with, will heavily impact whether or not you do like the franchise. Because, again, I started from Paths of Radiance, and I hated that, but then when going through Three Houses, I fell in love with the franchise from there. So I think it just depends on what game you play that sort of sells you on it, or, again, it just straight up could not be for you. For me, it was just based on whatever game I had started with. But after playing Three Houses and then going back to playing Paths of Radiance, I love Paths of Radiance after that. It was just really rough. So, Paths of Radiance, it's one of the most popular, I think currently one of the most expensive games to actually physically own, buy off of someone. It's a popular one. But for Paths of Radiance, for me, it feels the story feels forced. Forced with a question mark, because the pacing is good. It's just, I don't know. There's a few story elements that makes it feel like they were just pushing, just pushing things along in a very non-cohesive way. Um, yeah. So the story felt a little rushy feeling. Uh, Favorite retro game for me. Can't go wrong with the classic Mega Man games. I haven't played a lot of retro games, so I can't tell you. I couldn't tell you. Like I said, I'm not an exciting person. I don't. I'm a gamer, but only a current generation. Well, I shouldn't say that, because, like I said, I played games like Paths of Radiance, The Thousand Year Door, which also very excited for the Thousand Year Door. I know. I want to play RPG, Super Mario RPG. The new one specifically that had came out, which I might do on a stream later, depending on what I can get my hands on. But I really, really want to play the remake of the Thousand Year Door. Best Paper Mario game in my opinion. Despite being the only Paper Mario game I've ever played, the Thousand Year Door is a fantastic one. I love it. Right, Fire Emblem. So, um, there was something about the combat that I didn't like in Paths of Radiance. I can't remember, but yeah, something with the combat I was having issues with. Other than that, I love the story of the game. despite it feeling a little pushy. Um, so I think the only game that just beats out my favorite for the Thousand Year Door, well, I shouldn't say beat, more like on par, would be Fate. I know a lot of jokes have been made about Fire Emblem Fate, about it being a dating simulator, and what have you. I don't know. I think people made too big of a problem with that system. Because guess what? It's an optional system. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. Surprise, surprise. um, so I think just purely because of that, the game was undersold a bunch. I'm not saying the dual release thing for Fire Emblem. I like that concept. I like that idea that depending on which game you have depends on the path that you take in the game. I love that. Just consumer wise, it's kind of why you do this to us. Um, but I loved it. I would say so. They have 3 editions of Fire Emblem Fate. They had Conquest, Birthright, and then the special edition. I'm gonna as rating them as separate games. I would say Birthright, Conquest, A tier. The third special edition, F. It's horrible. I'm sorry. The whole point of getting the third special edition would only be for the sake of convenience to have the choosing of paths right from that one game as opposed to having to buy the other two. But the third route was not worth it. It just wasn't. There's only so many times you can retell the same story, and I think Conquest and Birthright played it perfectly. Of course, the feeling of repetitiveness does get there towards the end of depending on which one you played second. My order was I played Conquest first, Birthright second. But I love the journey through and through for both of those. And I think, as far as the Fire Emblem franchise go, Fate, both Conquest and Birthright was the only Fire Emblem games I've ever actually cried over characters dying. They built it up so well. I think the builds up and the connections between characters in Fate are really good. And I felt like that's what always made a really great Fire Emblem game was the characters, because they're the backbone of the game. Um, that might have been one thing that I didn't also like about Radiance was I feel like some of the characters didn't, I don't know, something about their dialogue to each other felt not right. um Fate had really great characters in my opinion. And their relationships between one another was fantastic as well. And the final bosses for each scene felt grand. Like I vividly remember. It makes me want to replay Fate again, which I just might do after this stream because I want to get those emotions started. But I remember the ending to Conquest so well, and remember how grand it felt. Also, just as a disclosure thing, I know for people who play Fire Emblem Fate, you got yourself some options. You got your casual mode, or you got your whatever the other one was. I don't remember. So it's you either have the mode where your characters die, they're gone for good, you can't use it. That's the classic version. That's how most people play their Fire Emblem games. For me, if there's a mode to select to where my characters don't die when they die, I take that. Like in Fire Emblem Fate, they have the Phoenix mode where if your characters die, they just respawn at the end of the round. I don't know, call me a wimp, but that's the mode I like to play. I like to play the ones where I don't have an existential crisis losing a character. Plus, it just makes the experience of playing Fire Emblem go faster. I understand you would do that if you want a challenge, but from every single video I've ever seen of people playing Fire Emblem on YouTube, it's the same thing, a 2-hour episode just to do one level because they keep losing one character and they have to restart the whole thing. I don't want to go through all that. I don't want to waste time like that. Again, that's just me. I don't want to waste time like that, and I don't want to go through all the mental trauma. Um, Again, I just want to experience the game to have fun. I don't want to experience it to lose half of my day on one level. I'm trying to say something nice. I don't know why I'm still going down this route. Again, I'm not saying that the classic mode is any worse or better. It's just, there are options. There are options. Favorite video game final boss, you say? That's a good question. I mean, right now it would have to be Conquest, Fire Emblem Conquest. I still really like that one. But let me think. Let's see. I mean, yeah, it just have to be Conquest, honestly. Um, so Conquest and Fate, I would put in the same bag, despite me saying that I would rate all three versions as different games. Fate and Conquest, I think, do just an amazing job on their own. And yeah, they have some similarities between the characters who. Well, that's a spoiler. Whatever. So, at the end of Conquest, you run into your older brother on the other side who, uh, Sudoku's himself to I don't know, something story, I forget. I am going to play Fate after this stream again because I want to re-experience Fate. But and then basically the same thing happens on the other side with Conquest, but despite essentially the setup being the same, despite the scenes practically being the same just with different characters, they somehow do it in a way that makes it feel original. They do it in a way that, despite having played the two routes back to back and seeing all the similarities, seeing all the same things, it still brings emotion. It still brings that click of, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it. It's just, it's so good. It's so good. And again, like I said, there's only so many times you can retell the same story, and Conquest and Birthright are basically the same story, just told from different possible perspectives. So the same characters, same locations, same practical fights. But again, they do it in a way that makes each side feel original to play down. The third one, I felt like the third special edition path. So the whole point of the game is you choose either to side with the family who raised you or side with your biological family. Or if you have the special edition, you can choose none of them and go by it yourself. There was so much potential. So much potential. They just couldn't get it. They made, I don't know. Again, they revisit the same locations, the same characters. I'm not going to say it wasn't original. It just wasn't good. Because technically, they did go down some original routes, some original ideas for retelling the story for a third time, but in a very boring way. Basically, the whole route just felt boring, and even the build up to having seen, oh look, it's your father, oh look, it's this other character's mother, one of the like big mysteries of the game. They made no emotional build up. They had, even if you went through both games, you had the mystery of Azura and the mystery surrounding her, even Corrin and yourself, and all the mysteries about where you came from, your family and whatnot, your missing parents. There's nothing. They made no room for any emotion in the third path. It was just, oh, here they are, you're fighting them now, oh, you beat them, oh, here's like a 2-second scene with them, all right, you're done, okay, move on to the next one. Oh look, it's your other parent, oh, you do the exact same thing, you fight them, you give 2 seconds of emotional plot, and then you move along. They made no emotional build up for that third special route, and the boss fight was even more disappointing. The Conquest's boss fight, it was so smooth. First you go into fighting, what's his face, Garen, the king of Noir. Or Noir, sorry, not Noir, I keep calling it Noir. As that boss fight was cool on its own, and then immediately following up that, you have I keep forgetting these characters' names. I'm bad with names, but for those of you who played Fate, you know what I'm talking about. The final King of Norway. No. But yeah, and I actually don't remember. You know what? I don't remember Birthrights. Oh wait, no, I do. You fight Garen as a dragon. I remember now. But the third special route. So Conquest had this big hallway. It had this big hallway that you fight back and forth in, and for the boss fight where you fight King of Nor, you go all the way down the hall to where he's sitting in the throne room, and then you have to go all the way back whenever the other boss comes in. Um, and for Conquest, or sorry, I mixed those up. That was Conquest. For Birthright, it's another long hallway, but then the final room to where you fight Garen is a big room. They have pillars, they have little spots to heal, you go to walk into healing. Like they have this big room where all the enemies spawn in, and it feels very grand. Both sides feel for their final bosses feel very grand with their locations. For the third special route, they put you on a platform, a small platform where enemies spawn like 3 at a time. It's and then the actual boss fight itself, there's his 2 hands you have to attack and then his head. Because I like Anakos. I like His concept is cool. Essentially, as far as lore is concerned, the whole idea of Fate is basically this other world. That's essentially it's like the Amazing Mirror, Kirby's Amazing Mirror. It's like a mirrored version of the world that you know, of the world that you live in. And Corrin is essentially this other world's version of what a divine dragon is, and Anakos is essentially this world's version of what a fell dragon is. It's so cool. I love the concept. But the third route is all the one that's supposed to bring all the pieces together, bring all the lore connections together. Like it did bring all the connections together. It's just how it did it in practice was so boring. The lore was good, but it was just the actual playing of the game was so boring. So yeah, Conquest and Birthright, those 2 games, either playing them together or on their own, are amazing. A+. The third special route, F-. Horrible. There's so many better ways they could have taken it. Even just for small changes, they could have done it so much better. It's funny that I talked about Fate first, not Three Houses, considering Three Houses is my favorite. The order that I played Three Houses in was I went Black Eagles first, Blue Lions, and then Golden Deers last. It was very hard to play anything after the Eagle House, playing as part of the Eagle House, because I don't know, I felt like those were the main characters of the show, the main cast of characters. So playing with the other houses felt like, I don't know, I don't really want to be with these people. I'd rather be with the people I know. I'd rather be with my main cast of characters. But it was still fun all the way down, and I love Fodlan's whole thing. It's similar to Fate in a sense where, as far as lore goes, there's not a lot of mention of divine or fell dragon. There's sort of its own self-contained story, but there is elements of divine and fell sort of hidden, like again with the other world thing, and Corrin essentially being that world's version of a divine dragon, Anakos being that world's version of a fell dragon. Those elements are there, but the actual presence of divine and fell are non-existent. Three Houses is in a similar vein to where they don't mention a lot of divine or fell things, but they're there. Uh, and Fodlan's whole thing is basically, as far like if you're thinking about the different countries of Fire Emblem, like different groups, Fodlan is essentially the religious cult of the world. They have their own belief, they have their own thing that they do. They don't let you leave. If you believe in anything else besides the thing they want you to believe, they will end you. They that's essentially what they are. And I love that concept because it like detracts from, as lore wise, it detracts from everything else like on the outside world from Fodlan. Um and again, I have a lot of, well, I don't know if you call them theories because people have already talked about it and it's probably obvious, but I love that the elements are there. It's just unlike other games where they're more prominent, like Awakenings. Like obviously you have Grima, and then you have Engage where you have Sombron. For some of the games, even though that there's not direct fell dragons being, a part of the main plot or anything, they're still there, or you get hints of them through games like what was it? I don't remember. But anyways, three houses. I had to recollect my thoughts. So Sothis, the goddess of Fodlan, is essentially a divine dragon. But she doesn't know that. I like how modern FNAF games, there are several main villains who all get glorified cameos in the games they're meant to be villains of. Um, what was I saying? I got sidetracked by reading FNAF comments. So, Fodlan. Uh, so Sothis is a divine dragon herself, and just going through theory wise, there's Sothis's children, or one of her children being Rhea or Saros, who she herself can turn into a dragon, and I think only in the Golden Deer route, Rhea tells the story of how she was a child of Saros, how she was basically made from the blood of Sothis. Uh, it's more obviously supposed to be taken as the religious route. You know, that's whole Three Houses' whole thing is you have this religion about Sothis. So that whole line is more, I think, supposed to be well, and physical, because they also like the whole holy relics, the weapons in the game are made out of the bones of Sothis, which helps my point even more because if Rhea has the power, if she was made from the blood of Sothis and she has the power to turn into a dragon, going back to Fire Emblem Fate, there is a paralogue where if you romance one of the characters, there is a paralogue to where you have a child. And your child, Corrin, can turn into a dragon. Remember that. Corrin's child has the power to turn into a dragon. And they mention in that same paralogue that it's most likely because they have your blood, they have Corrin's blood, which gives some support to the idea that if Rhea has the power to turn into a dragon and she was made from the blood of Sothis, that means Sothis is a divine dragon, and by proxy makes Rhea a divine dragon. And as far as that's the only hints of divine dragon that we see. And as far as fell dragons, there aren't any direct fell dragons, but there are elements of fell power in Fodlan in the form of those who slither in the dark. In the Golden Deer route, again, I didn't notice it the first time if they mentioned it, but in the credits, the final boss you fight in the Golden Deer house is Nemesis. The Smash Bros lore is wild, yeah. the final boss you fight is Nemesis, the King of Liberation. Again, I don't remember if they say it in the game, but in the credits, Nemesis is referred to as the Fell King. The Fell King. Now, the term Fell and Divine has been used sort of back and forth to both describe just in general what the word means and used to describe a specific entity, that being divine dragons or fell dragons. Is an oxymoron. Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's probably why he was evil. But yeah, those who slither in the dark, they were acting of their own accord, but they had the power of fell amongst them. And it also makes sense why those who slither in the dark was because they had this power, why they were so intense about wanting to destroy everything that relates to Sothis, the children of Sothis, everything, because that's been the whole battle. That's how I like to envision what the lore of Fire Emblem is. It's basically a fight between two entities, divine dragons and fell dragons, and all the games are basically you as a bystander in this big war between them. Like, you go through your adventures, like you play through Paths of Radiance, you go through this whole war, you make an army, you fight this evil king who's, dominating over the land. While behind the scenes, an even greater war is going on between the divine and fell dragons. That's how I like to imagine the lore of the franchise. Like, all the games you play through is just you doing your own thing while the actual important fights are happening behind the scenes. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I love Three Houses, because again, just like with Fates, it's the lore wise, it sort of detracts from what we know from the lore we know from other Fire Emblem games, with Fell Dragons and Divine Dragons being prominent in lore, where in Fire Emblem Fates it's almost non-existent, practically non-existent, and then in Three Houses it's there, but it's practically buried under Fodlan's traditions. It's buried under their beliefs, their ideologies, their religion. And not even they themselves who have that power, people who, like, again, Sothis, like even Sothis and Rhea, they don't know that power that they have, that divine power. They don't even refer to this themselves as such. And same thing with those who slither in the dark, who has the Fell power and the King of Liberation. All of them, they don't know the power that they have. They just have it and they accept it. But it makes sense why they're going after each other so hard, because that's the war between Fell and Divine. They're just all in on wanting to destroy each other. And that's basically what we see play out in Three Houses, where uh not the Leicester Alliance, the Adrustian Empire basically being coerced and convinced by those who slither in the dark to go to war to control all of Fodlan, but really it's more of to destroy all of Fodlan, because that's the Fell Dragon's whole thing, is to destroy everything. I love it. I love it. That's not the reason why Three Houses is you should rant about video game lore more. It's oddly relaxing to me. Um uh Maybe I should. The only problem with me ranting about video game lore is I don't know much. Three Houses is probably the most I've ever gone into the lore of a franchise, because again, it was just a Fire Emblem was just a franchise that I sort of fell into. It was not something I was expecting to enjoy, and I only just got into the lore of the franchise only recently. I'm not a big lore person. Well, I guess I've, again, only recently I'm starting to get into more lore stuff, like with League of Legends. I started looking at all the character lore, because whenever you're playing League and the character selection, they actually give you an overview, and the overview shows like where like the strengths and weaknesses of this character is, but they also give you a little lore overview. Just crack open the wiki page on Stream and go nuts. Yeah, that's yeah. Um I want to probably gonna sort of go back to I guess, well, let me think. Is there anything else Fire Emblem related that I want to talk about? I can't think of any. I love League's lore. I want to crack open the right client, but I'm afraid my stream's gonna crash. um I'm gonna try it. There might be some lag, ladies and gentlemen. There might be some lag, so don't be startled if you see 2 frames per second. I'm just trying to open League because I want to actually look at the overview for the character lores. Oh no, is there an update? Oh no. Okay, no, it was quick. It's fine. I don't know if it's lagging for you guys on your end. For me, it's actually looking not that bad, which is not what I was expecting. I thought it was gonna go much crazier than this. Okay, this might actually cause lagging. Yeah, this is gonna cause lagging. The actual loading for League. Yeah, there's the new character. If there's continuous lag, I'm gonna have to shut it down, unfortunately. But we'll keep going for now. Everything seems to be okay. No, nope. There it goes. Okay, I'm shutting it down, boys. I'm shutting it down. No character overview. I remember some of them, so it won't be that bad. Um, I love even just their connections through the different skins and their lore, because, like I said before, even just the skins that they make for the champions, they have their own lore, and then the same name skins, like the Crime City skins, they all connect with each other. Their lore, that is so fun. Like, as far as, if, unlike with what they're doing with Arcane, if they're ever going to implement like skin, like the lore relating to these character skins, as opposed to what they're doing now with the official characters without the skins, their lore. I don't know. That probably never happened. But I love the Crime City Nightmare skin lore. So Twisted Fate, just by himself, he's what is he? I don't remember. I love skin too. He protects my skeleton from the elements. That's what I was thinking when I was saying that. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't say it like that. I should probably phrase it differently. But so Twisted Fates Crime City Nightmare skin overview talks about how no one knows where he comes from. This isn't talking about Twisted Fate himself, by the way. So I'm going to talk about the skins, specifically the Crime City Nightmare skins. So the lore for the skins is Valorant City is where all the Crime City skins sort of take place. So Twisted Fate is referred to as the Gentleman. No one knows who he is, where he comes from. He's just a mysterious character wielding a power just referred to as Beyond. And the other characters, the other character lore relating to that skin has connections with the Gentleman. There is Zyra, Garen. Oh, sorry, not Garen. Darius, Akali. Who is the other one? Shaco. That might be all of them. There's not a lot of there's a lot of Crime City skins, not a lot of Crime City Nightmare skins. Um, but all of them make reference, or at least some of them make reference to the Gentleman, which is even cooler because Twisted Fate's one of my favorite champions. Um, yeah, so all of the characters who have Crime City Nightmare skins, aside from Twisted Fate, they refer to them getting this strange alien power, this beyond, um, turning them into what they are, given to them by the Gentleman. I think I've already said that. So Garen's description was he wanted to be the head of the criminal underworld, and he started that journey by being the personal bodyguard to Miss Fortune. But then he discovered the Gentleman gave him this power of beyond, and now Darius is even more stronger and more scarier and rules almost all of the underworld. And then you have Shaco. His description was he used to be part of the Twitch clan, not the live stream platform. The Twitch isn't a character in League of Legends. Uh, Shaco was originally an assassin for the Twitch clan, but after he got the power of Beyond, he basically became a mindless murderer that all of Valorant City fears. Uh, he doesn't go off killing like just anyone. He mainly hides in like alleyways and picks off smaller people. There's a character, Vigar, who has who has a super villain skin just called Superb Villain Vigar. One of the funniest skins, and I love him a lot. His old skin description is he's just a super villain who rules a very wealthy like tech company. It's like a Spider-Man situation. There's Oscorp, right? You have Oscorp. There's Norman Osborn. That's basically the situation. It's anyways. I just wanted to go off on that rant. Zyra was what was she? She was a con woman who gained the power of Beyond and then was just making everyone suffer. Uh, Basically all the Crab City Nightmare skins lore wise are connected to Twisted Fate, the Gentleman, Mysterious Gentleman, sorry, who is just giving everyone these powers to do whatever they want with. And Twisted Fate's whole reason for why he was doing that was he just wanted to watch the world burn. He wanted to give all these crime families, specifically in his lore, he specifically said he gave one power to each crime family in Valorant City so that he can watch them just destroy each other. I love Twisted. I wasn't planning on bringing anything up, but I want to actually bring up Twisted Fate has. Oops, there's gonna be some lag. Twisted Fate has the best Crime City skin, Nightmare skin of all of the Nightmare skins. Twisted Fate. That's not how you spell that. Let me see if I remember which screen this was before I mess this up. No, hello? Oh, I didn't. Well, this is awkward. My face cam ain't here, but this is Twisted Fate's Crime City Nightmare skin. Uh, This is probably the best Crime City skin. Yeah, but anyways, I probably should have. I don't know why I did that instead of just pulling it up here on this screen where you guys can actually see it. I don't know why I did it like that. In Valorant. Yeah, 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 sure. Yeah. I love going back just looking at random characters lore because there's some characters that you feel like in League whose character lore feels like they're all separated. Like you have like what we talked about with Arcane. They're following the specific storyline of Piltover, which originally just seems like a story relating to the characters Jinx and Vi. But actually, it connects a whole lot more characters. It connects Jace, it connects Heimerdinger, it connects Echo, it connects technically Urgot, which he hasn't made an appearance, which I'm really hoping he does in season two. Renata Glask, the new characters that was released relating to Zon. There's it connects a lot more people than you would expect, and they even again they reference Noxus, which brings in a whole new cast of characters that could possibly be featured. You have Swain, you have Garen, you have Elise, you have Samira. There's so many characters. Again, it just makes me wanting to. I'm kind of liking Noxus. So Noxus's whole thing is it's a. I don't know if it's a kingdom because there's a cinematic that sort of describes Noxus's whole thing. Noxus is, I guess, an empire, a kingdom that believes in strength and also believes in no monarchy, which is weird because it's a kingdom or an empire or whatever. So its whole thing is they go to other kingdoms. Noxus invades other kingdoms and basically overthrows kings, queens, tumbles other kingdoms and empires. Noxus believes in stability and order with strength. So it's America. You bad for that, but also, yeah, it's yeah. Maybe so, maybe so. I won't say yes, I won't say no. Maybe so. But yeah, that's Noxus's whole thing. It goes to other empires and kingdoms, overthrows their rulers, so Noxus is the only one. Um, yeah, get that oil. um, yeah, it's crazy that all these characters that their lores are technically all connected with one another. Like again, bringing it up again, they mentioned Noxus and Arcane, which originally you thought these two places were separate from each other, but they did mention the Hex Gates, which does again bring in more possibilities from other characters. I would say the most far fetched. Why far fetched? What's wrong with me? The the most out there possible connections of two of the groups of character lore connecting together would be Zon and all the stuff with the Void. So there's a bunch of group of characters that relate to the Void. You have characters like Malzahar, Kasai, I think her name is Vel'Koz. I think I've already said that. Rixai, Bel'Veth being the newest Void related character who's actually referred to as she is referred to as the Empress of the Void. So they got more lore for that, but again, those all the characters relating to the Void and relating to Piltover seem like the most not gonna happen connection out there. But Noxus could be. Swain could be. I'm more excited for Swain's appearance again. I don't remember if I touched on his lore. Swain is the leader of Noxus. Jericho Swain is the leader. Who is also the top general of Noxus, who's actually in the front lines. I think before he got his arm chopped off and then he stayed in the capital. um I have a friend who loves Thresh cinematics. No, one specifically that comes from Wild Rift, the inn scene. What was it? A Day at the Inn. Day at Bilgewater Inn or something like that. Uh, Wild Rift is League of Legends mobile version. It's really good cinematic. That's one thing that probably connects my love for Star Wars: The Old Republic and League of Legends. Their cinematics. They are really good. My favorite Old Republic cinematic would be, I think it's Birthright is what it's called. It's the trailer that they had posted, sort of cinematic slash trailer they had posted to for at the time the new story release, which relates to the Eternal Empire, Valkorion, Archeon, Thexan, Valen, which Valen didn't appear in that specific cinematic, but they made another one to which she was the focus. Um, that's probably my favorite cinematic of the Old Republic. And then you have League of Legends cinematics that they go over all the different character lores. Sometimes they make like big compilations like Unbroken. Unbroken is a compilation between different character lores. 100% run of Lego Star Wars. Dude, Lego Star Wars. What memories. I played all of those games. Not the Skywalker Saga though, the new Star Wars game that came out. I didn't play that one, but man, those bring back memories. What was the last Lego game I played that wasn't recently? I think Indiana Jones was the last Lego related game that I played. Lego Battles. I'm so sad. I grew up adoring Lego Battles. Lego Battles was the best video game ever. And then I look it up, it was like 50 cents because it's a Lego game and nobody cares. Games remind me that General Grievous can't use the Force. Okay, now I can talk about Star Wars lore. I don't know if I talked about it in the past, but I'm gonna talk about it. So, there are two characters in the Star Wars universe. Well, one of them is an actual character. The other one is just a group of people. That I have the most sympathy for and the most sad for, the Mandalorians and General Grievous. Both for the same reason. The Mandalorians, throughout their entire history, was just constantly used back and forth by the Jedi, by the Sith, constantly switching allegiances because at the time, uh, sort of during the Old Republic era, and going back, like from their very beginning when they were the no, not the Tals, this is no people, the Tongs, I think. They were called when they were just an alien species and then grew to become Mandalorians. Their system of rulership was whoever donned the first mask made for Mandalorian basically became the leader and given the honorary title of Mandalore after their fallen leader, Mandalore the First. And after that, the mask was like buried by a Jedi or something, and they couldn't find it. But they still went through like back and forth of leadership. Kept the same idea of they get the honorary title of Mandalore, whoever's leading the Mandalorians at the time. Um, and here's some fun little factoids: Mandalorians founded Coruscant. Just FYI, there's a little cool stuff there for you. Anyways, so General Grievous was basically the same way before. I don't even remember what his original name was. Um, but Grievous's lore basically goes he was a part of a race of warriors. Who they didn't have space travel, and they were. I love how General Grievous was introduced as a silent murdering machine in Clone Wars that was immediately got turned into a bumbling cartoon villain in Episode 3. Yeah. So General Grievous is. Actually, I want to talk about Mandalorian lore just a little bit because I don't ever get to talk about Star Wars lore ever. So this is like my only time I get to talk about it. So in Star Wars: The Old Republic, the Mandalore you see is Mandalore the Vindicator, who I think after his reign he gets discovered to be a fraud, and then he becomes Mandalore the Traitor or something. I don't remember what his title was after that. Um, just more fun facts for you. But anyways, back to Grievous. He was a part of a race of warriors and who didn't have space travel, and they were being abused essentially by an alien bug species who kept coming down, slaughtering their people and stealing some of their people. Uh, they eventually made a deal with, I think it was the Trade Federation, uh, so they can have space travel. So Grievous went up to deal with these bug intruders that have been bombarding their planet, making them suffer. And at the ironically the same time as they were commencing their attack on these bug people who's been uh hurting his people, the Republic comes in and says, "Who are these menaces attacking these innocent bug people?" And they destroy Grievous's forces. After that, Grievous was in debt to the Trade Federation, and he was basically a strong man that they used to go out and collect debts. um, After a while, there was a legend amongst Grievous's people about what was it? The Warriors of Two, which was two warriors who were in love would find each other who fell in love, who were like the greatest warriors. One of them skilled at melee, the other skilled at long distance attacks. Grievous was obviously the one skilled with melee, and he found a woman amongst his tribe who he fell in love with, who was skilled with a rifle. Um, there came a point where they had again made another deal with the Trade Federation. There was some other attack that they wanted to commence, but before Grievous could even leave the planet, his ship was sabotaged and he fell back to the planet and he fell unconscious. And in comes Sidious and Dooku. They really liked Grievous, the fact that he was scary and that he was a very strong warrior. They sabotaged his ship. After they crashed, they found him unconscious. Dooku and Sidious used the Force, manipulated Grievous's mind into thinking that the Jedi caused the damage to his body. What damage, you may ask? His body was completely fine, by the way. Grievous, as you know in Clone Wars, he's all like machine. He's like 2%, whatever he was before, and then all just machine. um, his body was perfectly fine in the crash, maybe a few broken bones or something, but he was fine nonetheless. But they went the Sidious and Dooku went the extra mile and cut up his body and put it into that robot body, and then convincing him that it was the Jedi who did that to him. And along that, they also killed Grievous's girlfriend. And then again convinced Grievous that it was the Jedi who killed her, and that's actually the reason why in Clone Wars Grievous is so insane, wanting to kill every Jedi, because Grievous believes that it was the Jedi who killed Grievous's love. Yeah, I just that's basically it. Grievous, that's why I feel bad for Grievous. He just wanted to, number one, protect his people, number one, just had love. And then first it was ruined by the Republic, who missaw the situation between Grievous and his conflict with the people who was actually giving them trouble, who was in the wrong. They judged it wrong and attacked Grievous instead. And then the second time with Dooku and Sidious manipulating him, I can't think of a more useless set of characters than Knights of Ren. You ain't kidding. The concept was there with the Knights of Ren. Made me think of Knights of the Old Republic. I got confused back and forth because there was constant news saying Knights of the Old Republic isn't actually getting a remake, and then a few days later they're like, actually they were. It's just taking them a while. I actually started playing Knights of the Old Republic. I just never even played it after the one time I started playing it. I need to get back to playing it. I'm trying to think, was there anything else? No, I think that was all for Grievous. Besides, Grievous wasn't even his name at the time all that stuff that I mentioned was happening. His name became Grievous after he lost his love, and a chief of his tribe gave him the name Grievous after the word grieving, the grieving warrior, Grievous. But yeah, I feel bad for Grievous. He's the character I have the most sympathy for. Yeah, he's a murderer in the future, but also I feel really bad about it. It isn't his fault. He was basically manipulated. It's a gaslight. He really is. He really is. I love watching Clone Wars. Just for those Palpatine moments where he's just manipulating, gaslighting people. Eventually, I kind of want to do a Star Wars marathon. They on Disney Plus they have it all laid out of like the timeline and like of which shows and movies like go first in the timeline. I want at some point to do like just a big Star Wars marathon, going like in chronological order of the story. Like with there was the first movie, the second movie, and then Clone Wars, then Rebels, I think, and then next few movies, or maybe not that, maybe it was 3, 4, then Rebels, then the other movie, or whatever the order was. And sometime in there, Bad Batch was squashed in there. Yeah, just eventually, I would like to do just a big Star Wars marathon. Oh yeah, the I know this is like so late, but the Ahsoka show that's over. Thrawn in live action is a sight to behold. Grand Admiral Thrawn is one of my favorite characters, aside from Palpatine, who's my absolute favorite character. Well, actually, after playing Star Wars: The Old Republic, I can't say that anymore. Valkorian, probably one of my favorites, and Revan. Revan's also a great character. Um, I didn't really have a plan of length of live stream. Uh, I want to talk about Star Wars lore a little more because again, I don't ever get to talk about it just casually. So, um, I really well, I guess it's less talking about lore, more of what I want for the future. Star Wars is sort of heavily focusing on sort of my favorite Star Wars characters are 2D2 Egg. um, Star Wars has been sort of heavily focusing, whether it be of their own decision or of Disney forcing them, um, of making Star Wars related content of Empire era and moving forward. I think going forward is sort of a mistake at this point. It's sort of back to what we were talking about with Fire Emblem. There's only so many times you can tell a story. And I think moving forward has its limitations because of things that have already been done. I know a lot of it's not canon or it just wasn't ever told whether or not it is canon or isn't canon, all the things relating to like the Old Republic and stuff. Um, but I think that's something that they should really look into doing, going backwards as opposed to moving forwards. I would love to see. I mean, I know they already have again cinematics of Star Wars: The Old Republic, but I would love seeing that era of Star Wars on the big screen, whether it be in the format of a show, animated, or live action movie, whatever the case. Because I feel like there's a lot of really great material to pull from. You can do like the Revan plot with his whole story, like focusing a story on either Revan being went from a Jedi to a Sith to following his own path, making a third option for force sensitive individuals and non force sensitive individuals alike that isn't the Jedi or the Sith. I would love to see that in Loki. I kind of really want to see something Revan related in current era Star Wars. I love how they said Legends wasn't canon, only to immediately introduce most elements from it back into canon. Yeah. Yeah. The few characters I really want to see on the big screen would be Revan and Valkorian. Valkorian would need 3 whole movies. Goodness. Again, I don't know if we talked about his lore, but he went from a Sith pureblood as Tenebrae to a Sith Emperor who created the Sith Empire, founded Dromund Kaas, and was known as Darth Vitiate, and then abandoned the Sith to create his own perfect society in the planet of Zakul, to where he reigned as Valkorian, the Eternal Emperor, over the Eternal Empire, sitting on his eternal throne. All of things that, yes, really have those names. Huh. So, I'm trying to think. I think I lost my point, but yeah, I think there's a missed opportunity with not doing going backwards with the timeline. And I understand why they would rather stick to sort of current time because there's a lot of characters that it would be nice to have either wrap ups for, like with Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, all the shows that they did. Um, Again, I have unpopular opinions. I like every piece of Star Wars content that has ever come out. I would rather be in that small. Actually, there was. I don't think I'll be able to find it, but there was a uh, image that I saw that I felt fit the whole Star Wars like dislike thing perfectly, which was a scene from Star Wars Rebels, where the battle droids come up again and stormtroopers interact with the battle droids. Um, so I'm trying to remember. So the stormtroopers see the battle droids and they say, "Is that what I think it is?" And then it cuts to the battle droids. It's like, "I haven't seen one of these in years," and the caption for it was Star Wars fans who just like Star Wars and don't complain about every single thing that Disney does. I fall into that category. Like, I understand, like, for the Ahsoka show. I watched it with a friend who really loved Star Wars, who did not like the Ahsoka show. And I understand. um, I'm just a person who takes it as it is. There's only so much we can do as fans and the things that we can do. Because we can, like, despite just being an audience, we can change what kind of quality we're getting by voicing our opinions. So for shows that are releasing garbage content, we state our opinions. We don't like this, and there's a much longer point here that my brain is just not wanting to process right now, so I can't talk about it, unfortunately. Anyways, yeah, I would rather be in that minority where I get to like what I like while also being in the smaller majority who likes this, while we're also, because I'm not saying that it's good content, I'm just saying that I like it and I would also like better stuff, but also I like it how it is. Oh yeah, no, there are definitely those people. Because I'm not saying that I don't see the problems. I very much see the problems everyone else is seeing with it. The only difference between me and those people is they're letting it weigh them down and their opinions on the story while I'm just enjoying it how it is. Because again, you can't change it. Once it's made, that's what we get. That's what we have. You can't change it. That's what we have. So you can either complain about it or take it for what it is. And again, some people, they have their own opinions and that's fine. You know, if you don't like it, you don't like it. That's just how it is. I'm just, in the more half of that's what we have. So you either enjoy it or we'll have fun getting mad over it. Um, and there also is some lore reveals with and I love that they brought that back with the Ahsoka show. The what's it called? Not Mobius. That's Loki. Um, what was it? What was it? What was it? Morid? No, not Morid. What's the name? I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up. Mortis. That's what it was. That they brought some more lore connections from Mortis. Morton. Mortis. I love that they brought that back because the only time we ever seen anything Mortis related was in Clone Wars for those few episodes, and it's never been brought up again. And I think it's still to this day is like one of the most mysterious and just random feeling Clone Wars episodes that ever exist. It was made on purpose. It wasn't just something they threw together. Dave Filoni, or was it George Lucas? I forget. Someone was there. I think it was George Lucas. Was there the whole time during the creation of Clone Wars, and to make sure that what was going out in Clone Wars was what he wanted. And he was there for the Mortis parts too. And he said, yes, that's what I want. He greenlit that. That means there's more to meets the eye when it comes to Mortis. And I love that they're touching up on it in Ahsoka. Even at the beginning, so to the part where, I guess I can spout my theory. So I always thought that there was something Mortis related, specifically when it came to the episode of Ahsoka meeting Anakin's Force Ghost. And they go through the whole thing of going through like the Clone Wars flashbacks and everything. That whole scene just felt very Mortis to me. Like, yeah, it was more a reference to in Rebels, the, what was it, World Between Worlds, whatever it was called. But that didn't feel right to me. Just something felt more Mortis than Rebels to me. And the whole scene felt very reminiscent of that. Like, and they mention Qui-Gon, they mention Obi-Wan, that Ahsoka was part of a legacy. So, what was the thought? It was, so Ahsoka, we sort of see her going through the scene with the clones and seeing the death of the clones by her command. And talking about how in the same scene, when she gets a Padawan, will she have to teach her the same thing? Will she have to, like, she fears the future. She's worried about the present. And she's beating herself up over the mistakes she made in the past. Anakin was more focused on the past. Obi-Wan was more focused on the present, and Qui-Gon was more focused on the future, which I feel like has great connections to Mortis. Ahsoka had all three of them. She was part of a legacy. The teaching passed down from Qui-Gon to Obi-Wan to Anakin to now Ahsoka. She sort of embodied all three of them. I love, what was that one scene? There was a scene where Anakin was where he talked about, because I think even Ahsoka said, and I think in the Clone Wars, he said that, well, I know Mace Windu said it, that Jedi are supposed to be keepers of the peace, not warriors. But in the Ahsoka show, in that scene where she was talking to Anakin, Anakin said, to help you in this moment, or to help you to survive, I have to teach you to be a warrior. There's no point to that. I just really love that scene. One of my favorites. Um, and keep in mind, from the Clone Wars, Ahsoka technically has a goddess essence in her after she was revived by Anakin by putting the essence of the daughter in Ahsoka, essentially. Um, so it makes the whole new Mortis lore thing that's come up uh even grander feeling. uh it's all very exciting for the future. I know that Heir to the Empire was something that's come up a lot since the finish of Ahsoka, and I really hope. And there was a lot of theories as well from like the early times of, like, I think it was the Obi-Wan show when that came out. There was a lot of theories of like there's a lot of live action stuff going on. It feels like it's building up to something, like it's building up to one big live action event. And honestly, now with the release of Ahsoka, it feels very much like that. And Heir to the Empire was a comic. I don't know whether or not Heir to the Empire was the actual release thing or if it was just people making up stuff, but it definitely feels like it's going that route, Heir to the Empire, where Thrawn returns, trying to piece together the Empire. And by the way, I feel so stupid going through Mandalorian and not knowing that. So Thrawn, during the time of after the second Death Star fell and after Vader was dead and Sidious was presumed dead, Thrawn was keeping the Empire stitched together. He was keeping everyone together. And there was a theory that if Thrawn was never, well, in the comic lore, I don't know how it's going to be portrayed in if they do make a live action heir to the Empire or something similar, um, changing lore, but in comic lore, Thrawn was killed by his own bodyguard because he was recruiting people from different planets, and the planet that he got his bodyguard from, he was purposely like polluting, but the people of the planet didn't know that he was the one who did it, and he joined his side to figure out who did it. So once he figured out who did it, he stabbed Thrawn in the back, literally, or his front, whatever, whichever one it was. But there was a theory that if Thrawn had never been stopped in his crusade to keep the Empire together, everything Luke Skywalker did, everything Leia, Han Solo, Chewbacca, all of them, just everything all of them did to stop Sidious, to stop Vader, all would have been for nothing if Thrawn wasn't killed by his own bodyguard. Thrawn would have successfully kept the Empire together, and they would have practically been back at square one with the Empire ruling the galaxy. I that's a what if scenario I would really like to see. Come on, Star Wars Visions, make it happen. In Anchor Bird Star Wars, the scene where Jabba and Leia kidnapped is a cutscene they planned, and prototypes of plush toys based on that scene. No. Oh no. I wasn't expecting to go on a long Star Wars rant. I was expecting to go more of a Fire Emblem rant. But again, this is pleasant. I'm glad I get to talk about Star Wars. um don't say that. Don't say that. Okay, I didn't know how long I wanted the stream to go, but I don't really have anything else to talk about. And I'm getting waken up now. What is it for me? For me, it's almost 1 p.m. and I woke up like at 10, so it's kind of just here to sort of wake me up a little. So I think I'm woken up enough now. So it was nice reminiscing of the old, it was 2 years ago, early morning live streams that I used to do. Who knows? Maybe we'll have actual early morning live streams later on. Who knows? But for now, for me, it's Thanksgiving. I don't know about you guys. So, well, I hope you guys have a lovely Thanksgiving. Those of you who may be celebrating it today. I'll see you guys soon.